What is up, everybody? Thank you very much for hanging out with me over here on odds.com. This is the main event portion of the breakdown for UFC Vegas 14. I hope you all hopped on over with me. I know this is our first time testing this bad boy out, hopping from one link to another. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bullshit here for a second. I'm going to give it a second because we got to go ahead and let people populate. We got to let people get in here and hang out. I see we're up to 18, 17, 19 live viewers, 44. There we go. The numbers are ticking up. People are hitting that link and getting in the chat. 50 people hanging out already. Here we go. Here we go. We rolling. We're rolling. All right. How is everybody doing? Thank you very much for coming over to hang out with me and continuing the show here on odds.com. Like I said, I do want to go ahead and give it just a minute because we've got people that are going to be migrating for the very first time from YouTube over to odds.com. It does, David, it does look like the Facebook stream appears to be working fine. So we are good to go. And over Sam was a one-time thing. He did say, however, that he would be willing to come back on the show sometime. So don't you worry. We might have our good friend Smiling Sam Alvey back one of these days. All right. And yeah, you know what? While we're at it, let's talk about that. Glover's chin did the damn thing, did it not? Like, I was scared there for a second. I thought I was right in my initial read that Santos was going to be able to crush him and clip him and get him out of there. But somehow the old man just knows how to hang on. Yes, I am, my friend Miskal Khalija. We are going to go ahead and talk about Brendan Allen, Sean Strickland. That is actually the first fight on this preliminary card. So we are ready to go. It looks like the numbers are getting up there where they need to be. I'm going to go ahead and get this bad boy started. If something happens that you missed, if you didn't quite get in here in time, we will have the replays here on odds.com so you guys can look for us there. Trot Wham, my dude. OG Wham, thank you very much. I appreciate you hanging out with me in the chat today. Appreciate you. All right, let's do it. And yeah, 100 peak team, thank you. I'm glad you were able to cash in. It was a nice little weekend. Let's do the damn thing. Let's do the damn thing. All right, here we go. Brendan Allen taking on Sean Strickland. So what we have got here is, you know what? My notes are in the wrong spot on this one. So Brendan Allen, Sean Strickland, this is a last notice thrown together little thing, which I'm a huge fan of. This is such a good fight. So Brendan Allen was supposed to fight Ian the Hurricane Heinisch on last week's card. Ian comes down with COVID. Unfortunately, he got popped. They had to pull him from the card. So Brendan Allen is left without an opponent. They got him back here this week, and Sean Strickland is stepping in after his dismantling of his opponent just a couple weeks ago, I want to say. Let me go ahead and get his page up here so I can – oh, geez, it didn't work. Let me get this up here so I can make sure I quote everything correctly to you. Hate giving out misinformation. I do my very best not to do that. All right. So Sean Strickland busted up Jack Marshman just 2 weeks ago. Both these guys looking to stay active, make a quick turnaround. Obviously, Brendan Allen never got the opportunity to fight. Sean Strickland did have a 15-minute fight. However, he absolutely wrecked his opponent, and that's right. Fall, Jack. Why won't you fall? He's given us one of the most quotable lines in MMA for 2020. What is up, my friend? Thank you for hanging out. So we're looking forward to Sean Strickland coming back. Now, when we broke that fight down, I said Sean Strickland was a guy that would really have to show me, right? He'd have to prove it to me. Coming back after that horrific injury that he had, we needed to see what he would look like after all this time off. Well, he looked phenomenal. He looked great. His boxing is sharp, it's tight, and his grappling is by far his best attribute, but he didn't even go to it. He didn't even need it. Now, with Brendan Allen, he is going to need it. Brendan Allen is a phenomenal talent when it comes to grappling, and that's all this kid does. He's a submission machine. He's a monster. He's a specialist, and he is a growing product on the feet. So Sean Strickland is definitely going to have a striking advantage. The question is whether or not he will have a grappling advantage. Now, I didn't actually have time to tape this one before the podcast, so I got to do my study throughout the week. I can't give you a definitive answer, and I don't have an official bet on this one because it's such a new fight for me, but I'm extremely tempted to play Brendan Allen here. I was playing Brendan Allen over Ian Heinisch, and I know Sean Strickland has a sneaky, nasty ground game, But Brendan Allen is a special talent, in my opinion. And having geared up for a guy that was going to be extremely hard to take down, he's going to be ready for that kind of a spot against Sean Strickland anyway. Now, he may have trouble with Sean Strickland on the feet, but Strickland, he seemed, I don't know, that Marshman performance, it was fantastic. I don't want to take anything away from him. It was fantastic. But Marshman is nobody to write home about. Beating Jack Marshman is not something that you can get too excited about. And there were spots where Marshman had the opportunity to fire back. So I don't know. This one's dangerous. We got to be careful. But I am very, very much considering a bet on Brendan Allen, especially if we can get him as a decent-sized underdog. And yes, this will more than likely be at 185. I don't know if maybe they made it a catch weight or something like that. Sometimes they do that because of the quick turnarounds. We will have to wait and see how that ends up going. Gigo, hello, my friend. Thank you very much for migrating over here. And yeah, David agreeing here, Allen at first glance. But again, we got to do our homework. We got to do our research. So we will dig into it a little bit later and see if we actually have some kind of a fight pick there. Daniel Rodriguez taking on Brian Barberena. Unfortunately, Brian Barberena had to have emergency surgery, and this fight is off. It makes me very, very sad. I was looking forward to this one. We were going to get a very, very solid, entertaining back and forth war on this one. Hopefully, Daniel Rodriguez gets a replacement. I know they're out there looking for him. I don't know who they're going to get because realistically, who wants to fight this monster on short notice? I don't know of one. Thoughts and prayers go up for Brian Barberena, hoping he makes a speedy recovery for this fight. That scrolls us right on through to a middleweight fight between Eryk Anders taking on Antonio Arroyo. Another really fun fight. So I've got thoughts on this one, folks. I've got thoughts on this one. Eryk, your boy Anders, is 13-5-0. And if you've been with me for a while, you know my opinion on Eryk Anders. He's peaked. He's absolutely peaked as an MMA fighter. He relies on his athleticism, his physical strength. This guy does not know how to change gears or do anything different. And his striking never improves from the basic boxing and kind of leg kicks that he throws every now and again. He just is not getting any better from fight to fight. When he first came on the scene, he's an athletic monster. He's fast. He hits hard. He's strong. I thought the world of Eryk Anders, and I thought that he was going to be a guy that really rocketed up to the top of the division because of that raw athleticism that he could harness, almost like Greg Hardy is doing in the heavyweight division. However, Eryk Anders has just peaked out. He got to a certain point. He has fought some big names. He fought Lyoto Machida, stuff like that, but he loses to everybody. He's low volume. He runs out of gas. He has to manage himself so he doesn't slow down, and then he does slow down anyway. So there's a limit to how much output he's going to have in every single fight, and he doesn't have much of a ground game on him. He's outlanded by a full significant strike per minute in his UFC career. A full significant strike per minute. That's a bad number. And on top of that, he's got a win over Gerald GM3 Mearshart where he was outlanded in significant strikes. I want to say 73-64. In a fight that, in my opinion, was a bad decision and should have gone against him. And I bet him on that spot, I think. I believe I bet Eryk Anders on that fight. We won the split decision, and I fully believe that Gerald Mearshart should have gotten that nod. So in Eryk Anders' last 6 fights, he is 1-5 on my book. It says he's 2-4 on his record, but in my book, he's 1-5. And the only win that he has in his last 6 fights is a knockout over Vinicius Moreira, who's literally the chinniest guy in the UFC. This guy is 9-4. He has no stand-up game whatsoever, and he has 3 knockout losses. He's on an 0-3 run, all 3 by finish in the UFC. I don't know if he's with the organization anymore, but if he is, he's going to give a leg up and be a resume padding fighter for one more person before he gets the cut. I'm not at all impressed with Eryk Anders anymore. And I'm on Antonio Arroyo here. If I didn't tip my hand already enough with this early breakdown, I am on Antonio Arroyo. Dude is 9-3, comes to us from the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Incredibly athletic, explosive. He mostly uses kicks. He does spinning attacks, lots of leg kicks. He rolls well with the punches, good head movement. He's got a very intelligent get-up game, so if he does get taken down, he knows how to utilize his guard, use the butterflies, use the hooks, get himself back up to the feet where he belongs. And this kid is hungry. He's looking for a title. He's improving every time we see him, and he's coming off of a nearly year-long layoff. Now, that year-long layoff, as far as I'm aware, is not due to any type of suspension or performance-enhancing drug or injury. So as far as I'm concerned, I believe this year off is simply due to him not being able to get a fight, training, and getting better. I like Antonio Arroyo in this spot. He's going to match the size and the strength and the physicality of a guy like Eryk Anders. He's got a better ground game than Eryk Anders. He's got a more well-rounded striking game. And on top of that, I know how he knows how to play the range. I think he's going to use his kicks. He's going to mind the distance. And I think he's going to frustrate Eryk Anders with how hard he is to get to. Even if Eryk Anders is able to tie him up and like lane him up against the fence or even get him on the ground somehow, he's not a good enough wrestler. He's not a good enough grappler to keep Arroyo in that spot. And I think Arroyo's advantage on the ground would play into that as well. I mean, don't be surprised if Arroyo ends up on Anders' back and is looking for a rear naked choke in this fight. Arroyo can win this thing. I don't know if he can win by knockout because Eryk Anders has been nothing if not durable. He doesn't get knocked out. Arroyo has knocked out 4 people, so he could win by knockout. I don't expect him to win by knockout necessarily, but he can. He can absolutely win by submission, and he can absolutely win this thing by decision. I think he's got more paths to victory, and I understand that given the experience that Eryk Anders has, he's got to be made the favorite in this spot. But I absolutely love it. I will take the dog shot on his opponent. Right now, Eryk Anders is about minus 140, minus 145 out there, it looks like. You can get plus 110 to plus 120, maybe plus 125 in a couple of spots on Arroyo. I got plus 125. I locked the dog up at plus 125. I'm looking forward to walking the dogs this weekend, folks. They are absolutely barking. A lot of these favorites, I know they're short favorites, but a lot of these favorites are untrustworthy favorites, and there's a lot of upside on a lot of these underdogs. We've got 123 people hanging out with us live here on Odds HQ. Thank you all so very much for migrating over here with me. It does look like the chat has taken a bit of a hit, so I'm going to have to think of something else as far as the t-shirt giveaways go. I think I'll give out a couple more t-shirts just so I don't hose anybody, but if you're watching on odds.com, I'm not sure I can see the chat, and I appreciate you guys supporting me, so I want to at least give to the people that are here and available, but I'm going to figure something out. I guess maybe I'll just do some giveaways on maybe like Twitter or on Instagram, something like that for the rest of them. Woo! I swallowed wrong. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. Our next fight, Julian Marquez taking on Saparbek Safarov. And this is a fight that has me twisted. It has got me in knots on this one. Julian Marquez is coming off of a 2-year layoff. It's been a long time since we have seen this guy. And it's not the good kind of layoff where I'm like, oh, he's been training. Oh, he's been working on his game. And no. This guy got into he had a bad injury that kept him sidelined for like a year and a half. He likes to brawl. Dude's got heavy hands. I really like what Marquez brings to the table. He's always going to be a fun guy to watch. He's coming from Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, and he derailed the hype train that was Phil Hawes in a big way, knocked him out cold on Dana White's Contender Series a while ago. He likes to double up on his jab. He's got a really heavy right hand, and he's another one of these fighters that's extremely patient when he hurts his opponent. He'll play the game, he'll sit back, and he'll wait for the knockout to present itself when he's got somebody hurt. The thing that I like about him is that he's incredibly durable. So even though he likes to get into a war, he likes to get into a brawl, he doesn't go down. He's not easy to take out of there. And he's training with my man, James Khaos. James Khaos is a much better trainer than he is a fighter. Even though he's a phenomenal fighter, I like everything that he does, and I like backing the people that he gets into the cage because he's very intelligent with the way he approaches the fights. So good mark there for Julian Marquez. Saparbek Safarov, however, is a master of sport in wrestling and combat sambo. He's one of these kill or be killed fighters. I mean, this is a guy who comes in here and he looks to take you out before you can get him out of there. He's only been to one decision his entire career. Just one. He has big telegraphed overhands. He comes in wing and hooks, literally puts his head down. Not kidding. Watch the tape. Dude does this. That's how this guy fights. So he is there to be hit. However, he is shooting for his life. Dude tries to get in there on takedowns and absolutely has to get the fight to the ground. If he gets you to the ground, you are probably in trouble. He knows what he's doing down there. Solid wrestler, good submission artist. He has heavy, vicious ground and pound. The only problem is I don't like what I see on the feet. This is a guy who's been knocked out by Gian Villante. Red flag. Big red flag. And even though he knows what he's doing on the mat, he has been submitted twice already in the UFC. This is a fight where I can't trust either side. Because Julian Marquez is coming off of such a long layoff, coming off of an injury, even though he's the guy that clearly should be the man that we are looking to back here in this spot, I can't trust him at, what is he, minus 300? Yeah, minus 290, minus 313, minus 301. I mean, the only way I could look to play him at that kind of a line would be by knockout. And maybe that would be possible. We'll see when the props come out a little bit later what that number ends up being, but he'd be a parlay piece, right? But I don't want to trust this guy against a dangerous opponent after a 2-year layoff in a parlay. It's so funny because after having, our spot last week on Tanner Boser that kind of shit the bed for everybody and ruined all of our nights, that's the exact same thing we're looking at here with Julian Marquez. And I'm like, I can't trust the guy, and it's probably going to be easy. Like, come Saturday, we're going to watch the fight, and it's going to be like, damn it, man. Marquez blew the brakes off of Safarov. Where was my bet? I should have bet on Marquez. That's exactly how I'm going to be feeling on Saturday, and I know it. But when you think of this thing and all the questions that are floating around there, hindsight's 2020. Come Saturday when we're looking back, it's going to be like, it was easy. We should have bet him. But right now, it's like there's a lot of questions around what kind of condition this guy's in, and I can't trust him at this point with my money. So the pick is going to be Marquez. I'm not parlaying him. Godspeed and good luck to you if you do. All right. So we took a bit of a hit on the viewership with that little switch. We're going to have to figure that out, iron things out for next week. But we do have a 120 viewers live with me right now, and I want to reward you guys for hanging out with me. If there are some live viewers, if you're watching this thing on odds.com, we appreciate you. We thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. Please don't stop doing that. It really helps us out a lot. So keep doing what you're doing, and I'll make sure I celebrate you guys in some way. I'll do like Twitter giveaways or something like that for the t-shirts, I promise. For everybody that does have access to the chat, however, whether you're on YouTube somehow, if you're on Periscope or Facebook, I want to go ahead and thank you guys. Let's do a t-shirt giveaway. Go ahead, hit it up. Hit the t-shirts. Hit the t-shirts in the chat there. I want to make sure I give somebody an opportunity here. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and wave this bad boy around, give you a minute to get all worked up here. And there it is. Leafless, my friend, you have won a t-shirt this evening. I got you knocked down right here. You are covered. And the nice thing is, since you're on Periscope, I know that's going to be your Twitter handle. You'll be one of the ones that's easy to track down and get the information we need. So thank you very much. All right. Yep, there it is. You won, my friend. Good work. Good work. We're moving this bad boy right along. We're getting to the end of our night. We've got Abdul Razak Alhassan taking on Callan Williams. They call the man Khaos. This is a hell of a fight. They put this thing in the co-main event for a reason. These guys bleed violence. Now, some of you may recall a little bet we placed on a guy named Munir Lazez just a couple of months ago. Abdul Razak Alhassan was a 4-1 favorite, and we hit Lazez as a plus 270 underdog that night. One of the best nights of my life. Calling those big, crazy underdogs, pulling the upset when the world is on the other side. It just makes me smile. It makes my day. It gives me warm fuzzies. It's like my Christmas. So, enough patting myself on the back and tooting my own horn. That was a fun night. What we've got to look at this is kind of with fresh eyes. So Abdul Razak Alhassan, he's still the betting favorite here, right? He's minus 230 in this spot. Khaos Williams is about plus 190. And once again, I'm tempted on the underdog here, but maybe not for the reason that you may think. Maybe not for the reason that you may think. Abdul Razak Alhassan is an explosive fighter, extremely dangerous. He hits everybody by knockout. He's got 10 wins. All 10 of them are by knockout. Khaos Williams on the other side of the cage here is 10-1. He's got 5 knockouts, 1 submission, and then 4 decisions. Both these guys only have lost by decision. They're both incredibly durable. Neither of these guys seem to have chin issues. But Abdul Razak Alhassan has a much, much higher level of competition than his opponent does. He's been knocking people out in the UFC left and right, and the times he went to decision, he did get pieced apart by Lazzez. Lazzez had his number, but he fought Arroyo Akhmedov and lost a split in that spot, so he very well could have won that. He could be 11-1. Kalen Williams is chaos incarnate. His first name, he's like changing his first name from Kalen to Khaos legally, I believe. Khaos is a chaotic fighter. That's what he does. He stirs up chaos in there. He looks to wing bombs, and he's just got more heat behind his hands than his opponent does. That's what this guy is all about. He came in and he took out Alex Morono in 30 seconds. If you recall, there's another fighter that did that. My boy Alexander the Great Hernandez stepped in on short notice, took out a high-ranking opponent. Nobody saw him coming. And then he kind of regressed a little bit because no one was ready for him to step in there and do that. Nobody was on guard for that fight. And he just blew the brakes off of Abdul Razak Alhassan. I'm sorry. Alex Morono. Khaos Williams is now coming in here on a full fight camp. Everybody knows what they're looking at. They know what they're looking for. Abdul Razak Alhassan missed weight. That was part of the reason why we bet against him. He had a bad weight cut. It was short notice. He's been dealing with some legal issues outside the UFC that's been distracting him. And then he gets pieced apart by a guy that is extremely skilled. I don't want to take anything away from Lazzez. Extremely skilled. He was very, very validly in that fight. And he's going to be a force moving forward in the UFC. But I don't know that Khaos Williams is as technical as a guy as Lazzez. Does Khaos have more power than Lazzez? Maybe. Maybe. Does Khaos Williams have more power than Abdul Razak Alhassan? Maybe. There is so many questions in this spot. I would love to take Khaos Williams as a plus 190 underdog because I think this fight is going to get hairy. I think these guys are going to get after it, and both of them really like to brawl and just see who falls first. The thing is, I think Abdul Razak Alhassan has a bit of an injured pride situation going on. I think the loss to Lazzez after a bad weight cut, after being laid off for so long, I think he's on a mission. I think he's on a mission for this fight. And Khaos Williams, people are not counting him out because of the way he entered the cage. But I think he's getting a little too much respect. You know, a guy like Lazzez is a much more skilled, a much more talented fighter than Khaos Williams is. And he was plus 270. Khaos is only plus 190. So there's a little bit on the side of Khaos is being overvalued where Abdul Razak Alhassan is being undervalued after his last performance. It's crazy to think a guy that's a minus 200 favorite is being undervalued. But I do think Abdul Razak Alhassan is going to come out here with renewed vigor. I think he's going to have gone back to the gym, trained hard. I doubt he misses weight on this fight. Now, if he does miss weight, that's something we can talk about on Friday's post-weigh-in video. Maybe that flips our opinion. I'm kind of thinking Abdul Razak Alhassan is the more technical fighter. And when Khaos Williams comes in with those big winging hooks, I think he's going to clip him. And I think he's going to put him down. I don't have anything to substantiate Khaos Williams having chin issues, but there's very few people that can take the onslaught of Abdul Razak Alhassan. And from what I've seen from Khaos, he doesn't roll like Lazzez does. Lazzez had a high guard like this, and he was able to roll with the punches and keep them from landing flush and landing clean. Khaos doesn't do that. He drops the hands, he fires from the hip, and he brawls. I think that's going to make him pay. I do think Abdul Razak Alhassan bounces back. I think he wins this fight, and he probably wins it by knockout. But you can't count a guy like Khaos out because he's just got that raw, disgusting power. Because of that, Khaos is still going to be in this fight. I'm going to wait for the totals to come out. I'm going to look at the totals on this one. Let me see if anything's dropped on this one. Yeah, they've got it set at 1.5. The under 1.5 is minus 155 right now. And that's really the way that I would be looking because I think that Khaos Williams is going to do what he always does. He's going to come out hard. He's going to come out looking for the kill. I do think Abdul Razak Alhassan is the more technical fighter, the better fighter. He'll be able to take advantage of that pressure, of that gunslinging style. And I think he wins by knockout. And I do think it happens early. But that's not to say that Khaos can't clip him. Khaos could absolutely clip him, and he could win this thing. But I think it's going to be a one-round fight. And that brings us to our main event of the evening, folks. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me here on the Die Hard MMA podcast. I appreciate all of you so very much for spending this time with me this evening. I'm going to go ahead and give out one more t-shirt away, so go ahead and hit it up. Hit me up in the chat with the t-shirts. Spam it. I want everybody to get in here and get an opportunity to win the dang thing. Fingers ready. Here we go. It's time. It is time. Zabel, my friend, you are the winner of a nice, shiny, die-hard t-shirt. Thank you very much for hanging out with me this evening, everybody. I appreciate you all very much from the bottom of my heart. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe here to odds.com. And if you are watching this thing later, make sure you go over to odds.com. Check it out there. Thank you all very much from the bottom of my heart. Let's talk about the big news. Islam Makhachev is off the card, my friends. Off the card. If you haven't seen the spam, he's off the card. Unfortunately, this was going to be a good fight. I actually think it was kind of a setup fight for Makhachev. Poor Raphael dos Anjos has done nothing but face grappler after grappler after grappler, and they were giving him another one. Finally, he's going to get a change of pace here because Makhachev is out. Paul, the Irish Dragon Felder, is the man who is going to take his place. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Chandler too, man. I thought it was going to be Chandler, but it's Felder. Paul Felder, which in my opinion is a much better fight. This is a fun spot. So from what we know, Paul Felder was actually in the process of training for a triathlon. So because of that, he's a whole hell of a lot lighter than he usually is. He's actually in fighting shape. He's in condition. He's ready to go. He's on point with his weight. He's another one of these big guys that takes a lot for him to get down to 155. Given the circumstances, it worked out perfectly, though. Rafael dos Anjos is the former 155-pound champion, maybe the scariest 155er I have ever seen before it just got to be too much of a toll on him, and he had to move up to 170. Since he's gone up to 170, he's had a rough run. He's 1-4 in his last 5, and he's just been out-grappled by the biggest monsters 170 has to offer. Leon Edwards, Michael Chiesa, Kamaru Usman, and Colby Covington. Literally the cream of the crop is what Rafael dos Anjos has been facing over in the 170-pound division. Now he makes his glorious return to 155, and my biggest question is the scale. Rafael dos Anjos looks like he is in shape, absolutely shredded, ripped up, and ready to go. And like I said, he may be the scariest man I've ever seen at 155. I know people are going to cite guys like Conor McGregor and stuff like that, but seriously, when Rafael dos Anjos was getting his reign started, he was disgustingly good at 155. So I'm expecting big things out of RDA if he can get himself back down to 155 without compromising himself. Now, if he can't get himself down without compromising himself, then he's going to be a clear and easy fade. Rafael dos Anjos has incredible grappling skills. He's a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. All that wrestling he's done at 170, I think, is going to pay dividends now because he's been doing nothing but grapple, prepare for grapplers, and then fight the highest level of competition against grapplers at 170. He's going to be ready to take a fool down after the last 4 years. Paul Felder is a very entertaining striker. But in the UFC, he's kind of a decision machine. I mean, he goes to war with everybody that he fights, but he kind of gives as good as he gets. He gets hit a lot. He hits his opponents a lot, but he doesn't seem to be able to land the knockout in the UFC. So this is going to be a very entertaining fight. But honestly, I see a very clear path to victory for Rafael dos Anjos. As long as he's not compromised by that weight cut, I think he's going to be able to take Paul Felder down. And he's just going to grind this thing out the way people have done to him for the last couple of years. If you stand with Paul Felder, you're inviting a life-changing beating. I tweeted something out earlier that of Felder's last 9 opponents, only one of them has not lost their next fight. They call that the curse of the dragon, baby. This guy puts such a life-changing beating on these dudes that they can't seem to get it together for their next fight after he deals with them. So Rafael dos Anjos is in for a war if he decides he wants to stand. With Paul Felder's 61% takedown defense rating, I think RDA is going to look for the mat. And with Paul Felder, yes, he is training for a triathlon, but he's not training for a fight. So I don't know how sharp his hands or his takedown defense is going to be coming into this fight. And I also don't know if he's on point with his weight because he's training for a triathlon. If he's training for a triathlon rather than training for a fight, I don't know how his strength is going to be on point. You know, riding a bike, swimming, those are different muscles than when you're punching and kicking. I don't know if his power is going to be dampened because of the type of training that he's been doing. I mean, maybe he looks like an animal. Maybe he goes GSP style and he somehow gets stronger training a different way, but I kind of doubt it. On top of that, Paul Felder has been talking about retirement for years. I mean, look at this. He's training for a triathlon rather than getting another fight. He has said many times that he's really only interested in exciting fights or big fights. He's not really looking for the title anymore. He's not in that hunt anymore. He's not hungry anymore. Rafael dos Anjos wants his belt back. This guy wants gold strapped around his waist one more time before he hangs it up. I got to tell you guys, a lot of people have been talking online. I've seen a lot of love for Paul Felder. And we don't have a line out. This news broke just this afternoon. So I don't expect anybody to have a line out today. There definitely isn't one out right now. But I'm expecting Paul Felder to be the favorite. I think people are overlooking what Rafael dos Anjos is capable of and what he's done in his last several fights. And he also is going to have a good stylistic matchup here, in my opinion. I think RDA is going to either grind out or submit Paul Felder in this spot. Now, Paul's never been submitted, so that would be a stretch. But like I said, this is going to be a 5-round title fight. Yes, he's training for a triathlon, but a triathlon is very different from a fight. If they get in there, if it gets nasty, if it gets ugly, RDA can take this guy down, and he's a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on top of being a sick wrestler. I think he can grind him out. I'm on RDA, folks. I got to see what that line is. But if there's a plus number next to RDA, guarantee I'm going to be betting it. Guarantee I will be betting RDA at plus money in this matchup. And that's your breakdown, folks. That is your breakdown for UFC Vegas 14. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me here at odds.com for the main event portion of the evening. If you are watching this later on and you missed the live show, I appreciate you just as much. Thank you all so much for spending time with me. Everybody remember, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world right now. I know we've got the election that just went down. I know a lot of people are feeling hurt right now. They feel like they're not sure about their future. They really have no idea what's going to happen in the coming months. We're all in this thing together. We're all in the same boat. So we got to make sure what we do is instead of tearing each other down, we lift each other up. Here on the Die Hard MMA podcast, we try to support each other. We like to come here and talk fights. We talk betting. We get a distraction. We get a break from the world. That's what we're about. It's okay to disagree with people, whether it's personally, politically, or just on your fight picks. It's totally okay to have different opinions from other people, but we need to treat each other with respect, even though we have those differences. We can shake each other's hands, and at the end of the day, if you win money on a bet that I lost money on, I will give you a high five. No point in rubbing noses. No point in getting in each other's faces. If you called something, we will celebrate your wins, and we just ask that you do the same for us. Keep that in mind. Everybody go out there. You have a wonderful evening. You have a wonderful week. I will have Total Madness up for you here on odds.com later in the week. On Friday, we will have the post-weigh-in show, which has become the absolute gem of the channel when it comes to making money on MMA. And then we got fights on Saturdays, folks. Thank you again very much. You have a wonderful week. You are awesome. Keep your head up. Keep grinding. Make sure you give an air 5 to people. Check in on your family. Make sure your friends are doing okay. I love you guys. Have a good one. Let's roll.